He'll bless me with just a few words. There's been so many thoughts running through my mind last night and this morning, that wondering that if I've got to get into the stand and preach what I ought to preach. And I feel like that the brothers before me has already done such a wonderful job if men and women would just take heed to it and they would really consider the whole lesson that they've been preaching to you about. And I feel like that the words that they have been saying would lead any man or woman to the very foot of the cross, Brother Mike, if they would really just understand what it's all about. I thought, Brother Chad, when I was a young man, I've been in this race for about 33 years now, and I really thought that I had the world by the tail and that everything would go smooth. But I found that through all of my walks, Brother Joey, that God has never forsaken me. He's never let me down, Brother Chad. But I have found that in 33 years, I have certainly let the Lord down. But I've also found that He has always been right there, Brother Paul, that no matter what would befall me in this world, He's promised me that He would go with me through it, Brother Danny. God didn't promise us an easy road, Josh, and I want everybody to understand that. But I come here today wondering, listen, how far are you willing to go for the Lord? What are you willing to do for God? Listen to me. I want you to know that one writer, he began to write and he said that he found that there was but one step between him and the grave. There is but one breath, Brother Joey, between us and eternity. Whether it's eternity in heaven or it's not, Brother Paul, there's still but one heartbeat that separates me from that. And that's why I want to ask that question. Listen. listen, what are you willing to do for the Lord? How far are you willing to go for the Lord? Listen to me. I don't know anybody's heart here today. I'm not anybody's judge, Brother Elisha, but I want you to know that we do have a judge, and we do have something inside of us. Oh, brethren, something's down inside of every man, in every civilization, in every nation, listen, in every culture of people, Brother Paul. There is a form of God somewhere, Brother Earl. And I want you to understand me. Listen, that the educated people, they'll take that and they'll say, well, socially, everybody, listen, has got a little bit of the same, just because, brother mine. But I want you to know, the Bible teaches me that God has given us the inspiration of Himself. Oh, Lord, every civilization throughout time, listen, has always had a form of God somewhere along the line, because we're aliens in this world here. I got news for you, brother. Listen, we're strangers. Listen to this land here. I found out 33 years ago that this world ain't my home quite. Oh, Lord, I'm traveling through this land here, but I can testify that this world surely ain't my home. Listen, don't even want it to be my home anymore. I've got a better place, Brother Earl, picked out, and I'm heading toward. I want everybody to come and go. Listen with me to heaven's land. I'm not much here in this world, I'll tell you that. But I do feel like I'm a child of the King, ready to leave here when He calls, Brother Mike. Listen, you brethren, pray. Oh, I want you to understand. Listen, just like when Jesus was walking on this earth here, Brother Paul, listen to me. Jesus come. He looked at Peter one day and He said, Peter, Satan, he has desired to have thee, that he may sift thee as wheat. In other words, he's going to put you to the test, Brother Mike. Oh, but Peter, listen, I've prayed unto the Father, and when thou art converted, you strengthen the brothers. You see, they hadn't been converted yet, Brother Paul. Oh, no wonder. Listen, when they come and got Jesus, and they took Him, and they bound Him, and they beat Him, and they let Him out of the judgment hall. Listen, and all the disciples, they ran away. Oh, even Peter, he denied Him 3 times, brother. And listen to me, there hadn't been a conversion yet. Listen until when Jesus had rose from the grave. Oh, Lord, can you imagine what the disciples must have been feeling that day? They had given up 3.5 years of their life, and they thought this was a man. They seen the miracles, they seen the mighty words, listen, and all of these things, and then they took Him and they killed Him. Oh, can you imagine how them men must have felt then? Listen, when Jesus had died, and He had already rose from the grave, brother, and no doubt there was still a little confusion in their mind. We thought it was going to be Him that was going to restore the kingdom to Israel. Oh, one day One evening, 7 of the disciples was all sitting around, Judge, and Peter said, I'm going fishing. That was what he was, trained for. That's what he'd always done in his occupation. Oh, Lord, 7 of them went fishing that night, and they toiled all night long. No doubt they'd sat around long enough. What are we going to do? They killed him. Listen, what are we supposed to do now? We followed him. We done everything we were supposed to do. And now here we're all sitting. And so Peter said, I'm going fishing. And everybody got up and they went fishing that night. Oh, brethren, still there had not been a conversion yet, Brother Josh. Even though no doubt the disciples, they didn't understand what Jesus had said to Peter. Listen, before he even died. Listen, but they worked all night long fishing and hadn't caught one little thing. Oh, but morning time came, right at the break of day. Listen, they had fished all night long. No doubt worked themselves up. No doubt they was tired, Brother Paul. Sometimes I get tired here in this world. Oh, but I'm glad that I've got a rest over in another land. I'm willing to wear myself out for the cause of the Lord. But listen, they had worked all night long. Listen, drawing nigh to shore. And there stood somebody on the shore. And he hollered out and he said, have you any meat? Have you caught any fish tonight? And somebody hollered back and said, we ain't caught nothing all night long. Jesus hollered back and said, cast your nets over on the right side out into the deep, Brother Joey. And you know what? For some reason, those men, they done what he said. They didn't even know it was Jesus. And they cast their nets over in the deep. And brother, the net was full. They couldn't even hardly bring it up. Oh, they began to wrestle with the net. They thought they was going to break for how many fish that was in it. And you know what, brethren? Then John, he seen, and he said, that's the Lord on the shore. And brethren, everybody began to row toward shore. Oh, when they got over to the shore, Jesus had built them a little fire. He had coals, Brother Bill, and he had fish cooked for them. I got news for you today. Jesus could have walked over to the shore, and those fish would have came to him. Nature obeys him. I got news for you. Oh, brethren, even those little fish would have gladly given their lives to the Lord, Brother Joey. Listen to me. But you know what? They sat down and they began to eat, and then they recognized it was definitely Jesus. And he began to talk to them right there. And he looked over at Peter and he said, Peter, do you love me? Oh, Lord, thou knowest, Lord, that I love you. Then you feed my lambs. But Peter, do you really love me? Lord, thou knowest I love you. Peter, feed my sheep. And Jesus looked at him a third time and he said, Peter, do you love me more than all of these? Oh, Lord, thou knowest It grieved Peter that Jesus asked him 3 times. I've wondered about that. Peter had to deny him 3 times. And then Jesus asked him that 3 times. And you know what? Listen to me. And then Jesus began to talk to him. Feed my sheep. And you know what? He said, Peter, the time is coming that, listen, they'll lead you about. They'll take you where you don't want to go. There's bad days ahead, Peter. It already told him that when you are converted, you strengthen the brother. Oh, Lord, listen, I'm glad that on the day of Pentecost, when everybody was gathered around, he told them before that, listen, tarry ye in Jerusalem until you're endured with power from on high. When that power comes, brother, there comes conversion, Brother Mike. Oh, Lord, Peter was gathered there in Jerusalem. About 120 people gathered there, and the Spirit of God descended. And brother, you know what? Everybody was watching them, and they began to say, these men are drunk. Look how they're acting out here. And Peter, with great boldness, stood and said, these brothers are not drunk as ye suppose. Seen it is but the 3rd hour of the day. But this is the promise that was given unto Jesus. He lives in our heart. When we're converted, brethren, Jesus moves in, Brother Chad. Every one of the disciples, all 11 of them that was left, and even Apostle Paul, that would come a little later, Brother Paul, every one of them, they never denied him anymore. There was a conversion took place. Oh, Lord, they never denied my Lord. They went into the prisons, brother. They was shipwrecked. They was beaten, Brother Earl. All of these things had happened to them. And I'm telling you one thing. Listen, when a man or a woman is converted, there's something down inside that begins to work in us, Brother Elisha. Oh, Lord, and I want you to know today, listen, that there's something down inside of me. That's why I want to know, how far are you willing to go? What are you willing to do for the Lord? Every one of the disciples died cruel death. Listen, one by one, Brother Chad. But never did one of them deny the Lord. They never turned away from Him, Brother George. Listen to me. I'll tell you one thing here that reminds me about 25 years ago, or a little less than that, about 22 years ago, when I would begin to preach. I can remember it so well. I would come, Brother Paul. No doubt you remember that. Oh, Lord, I would come to preach, brother, and I would just get started a little bit. And I remember, listen, my younger boy Jake would run up, and he would want me to carry him around. And as soon as I'd pick him up, Josh would run up, and he'd wrap his arms right around my legs. I couldn't move anymore. Oh, Lord, I'd have to preach my whole
whole sermon holding on to him. I'm trying not to step on him and holding on to the other one in my arms. And I remember asking Josh, the older one, I'd say, Bubby, why do you do that to Dad? And he'd begin to cry. And he'd say, I don't know why, Dad. It's just so, it makes us so sad when you get up there. Oh, Lord, I wish I could cut every man and woman's heart that's here today and make you mourn for the Lord. I'm telling you what, God wants us to have a humble spirit, Brother Greg. God wants us to be obedient, and if we'll do that, we'll be all right, Brother Roger. Oh, Lord, I'm on my way to a better land than this one. I ain't got time for foolish things. I ain't got time to be staring and judging everybody. I mean, I'm trying to see what all the congregation's doing. You got the same God that I do. He can stir you up. He can lead you and He can guide you. Oh, and He promised every man and every woman the same reward if they'd obey Brother Paul. And I'm thankful for that today. Listen to me. I'm thankful that no matter what comes along, that God has promised us that He'd never leave us. And I am very thankful for that. All the things that I go through in life, all of my troubles, all of the troubles that I see that come upon other people. You know, it's funny how that God can work. I've had Brad on my mind all morning, and he didn't show up today, and I've wondered about that because it was just a couple weeks ago that Brother Josh gave me a little CD of a preacher that preaches a good ways from here over around Hindman. And then that man and over around Hazard. And that man began to preach, and he began to tell in his preaching. I'm talking about Ivy Back. I know some of you know him, Sister Mildred. And that old man, he was preaching, and he was doing such a good job. And he this was in 1985, I believe. And he was preaching, Brother Paul. And he said that this world, the older that he gets, it seems like it's just full of heartaches and troubles. And he said, you know, in this little recorded sermon, he said, just like them two little girls that was killed over in Dorton just the other day. Listen, that had that rag. I believe they were still in school anyways. And you know, it's funny that that very week that I was listening to that, the next day, Brother Chad, Brad Hamilton, he called me and we were talking a little bit, and he was talking about what maybe God might want him to do. And he said, you know what, I almost died one time. And I said, when was that? He said, do you remember the story of the two that got in a car wreck on the new 4-lane and several was killed? He said, I was supposed to be in that car. My girlfriend was in that car. And he said, I just got there a little late. Oh, brethren, are you talking about being like Philip was to that eunuch? I wanted to preach right there to him on the phone, Brother Chad. God spared him for a reason. I don't know what it is, but God knows, Brother Paul. He's got a job for us, Brother Danny. Lord, even Apostle Paul, when he was going around preaching, he went down and he stayed all night with Brother Philip. Listen, the very one that Chad preached about. And as he started to leave, Paul was heading to Jerusalem. Oh, Lord, another preacher came and he took some of Paul's belongings and he took his little belt and he tied his own hands with it. He said, the Holy Ghost has showed me that whoever owns this belt is going to be in trouble if they go to Jerusalem. Oh Lord, everybody that was standing there, they began to weep and mourn for Paul, knowing it was his belt, Brother Paul, and he was the one heading towards Jerusalem. And you know what Paul did? He stopped them all and he said, listen, why are you mourning and weeping? I'm not only willing to suffer for the Lord, but I'm willing to give my life up. If that's what Jesus wants, I'll surrender my life over to Him. And that's what's brought us to this point. Oh Lord, what are you willing to give the Lord? What are you willing to do? I'm willing to give it all to Him, Brother Paul. Oh, because I've got 4 children here. I dread leaving them, but I've got enough confidence in my Lord that if Dad's got to leave them and be gone, oh Lord, there's somebody sitting on the throne that'll lead them and guide them. Oh, people, listen. Bring your children to church. Raise your children in a way that would please the Lord. And I'll tell you what, He's given us a promise that if we'll do that, Brother Joey, it's going to lodge down in their heart. They might be obedient. But once the seed has been planted there, God will work with that seed. I'm telling you that today. Let's do everything we can to serve the Lord. What time we're living here, I didn't mean to take this much time. You brothers go ahead and get into song. But I want to say that if anybody's here and they want to put their light on a candlestick, God knows that church doors has been open for about 2,000 years. But I want you to know, if you want to come and show the world which side you're on, right now would be a good time while these brothers are singing. You don't know how much longer that you got in this world. We ain't got no idea, Brother Paul, but I do have this feeling. That when I close my eyes to this world, I'm going to open them. And if anybody wants to come and go home with us, the church doors is open. I can't save nobody. We'll gladly accept you any way that you want to come, by restoration, by recommendation, by letter, by experience and baptism. This ain't about a bunch of drool. It's about doing